I would first like to say thank you for the opportunity to share our story. It's certainly an honor for us. And my name's Josie Morningstar, and I am the parent of Rhett. He is our 2.5-year-old son who's been involved with early intervention since, I think we started with you guys when he was around 3 or 4 months old, is when we got started with the program.
How did you get connected with the services, Help Me Grow, and the board?
Yeah, so Rhett's pediatrician was actually the person that told us about the program, and then went ahead and made the referral and put us in touch with you guys.
Okay. Did you know much about Help Me Grow, or what that might look like?
I did not. I had heard of, the name Help Me Grow, but as far as knowing what services you provided and who you provided those services for, I really had no clue. It was not something we had ever, I guess, intended on, needing those kinds of services, and we'd never planned on having a child like Rhett. So it was all brand new to us when we did get referred to the program.
Okay. So how do you feel the process was getting started, and I guess how has early intervention helped you or your family?
Yeah, so as far as kind of getting into the program, I am very thankful for that initial referral from our pediatrician, because without his referral and his knowledge of the program, it's probably not something I would have found on my own very quickly. So I'm very, very thankful for his insight and, his being on the lookout, and also for him referring us to the program so early on, because I've kind of heard of families who, maybe they don't get hooked up with early intervention and Help Me Grow until, maybe until their child's 1.5 or 2 years old. And, it's only from birth to 3 years old. So first off, I was very thankful for that, kind of heads up from him. And then as far as after he made the referral, it was really a pretty simple process. I think he kind of submitted the paperwork, and you guys got a hold of us, and our I can't think of the proper job title, but kind of case coordinator, I guess, came out and met with us.
Your service coordinator?
Service coordinator. That's what I was looking for. Yeah. She came out and, met with us, I think within, the month, and kind of, did some intake information, and then, got scheduled for the evaluation when, the developmental specialists and some of the therapists and things came out. So really it was a pretty simple process as far as that goes, to kind of get into the program. And I know Rhett, he was so young when we did those early assessments that I believe he didn't qualify based on the assessments themselves, but he had a qualifying diagnosis that kind of got him into the program. So I would say, even for families, maybe you're really early on in your journey, and maybe, they're still an infant and there's not a whole lot to be behind on yet, there is still that possibility of getting into the program based on a diagnosis that your child might have. And as far as the way that early intervention has helped our family, I just feel like it's been such a huge resource in a number of ways. And I would say the first way is, as people in our situation kind of quickly find out, your private health insurance kind of has a lot of loopholes when it comes to, getting help for special needs children sometimes. So there were times when, our insurance wouldn't, our insurance only covers this much physical and occupational therapy. And, we had met that, and private therapy is like $400 a session. So if it weren't for early intervention, there would have definitely been times for Rhett that we just wouldn't have been able to provide him, with those services at all. So, they really have helped us in that way. And then the thing that I really like about Help Me Grow is that, it's not necessarily people coming into your home every single week, but people showing you what to do with your child on a daily basis. So you don't have to necessarily worry about, running to this appointment and to that appointment. It's, somebody that maybe comes out every couple of weeks or once a month and kind of helps and shows you what to do to help keep your kiddo on track. And aside from those, you guys have also just been a good, you've helped us learn about maybe other resources, things we wouldn't have thought of, like, pursuing waiver programming and BCMH and a lot of things like that, if you've never known a disabled person or you weren't planning on having, a child with disabilities, those resources have also been paramount. And I feel like, the Help Me Grow staff has really helped hook us up with those other resources as well.
Mm-hmm. Great. You answered a lot of my questions. I guess having that support from early intervention, do you think, how has it helped you, I guess, with your interactions with Red?
Yeah. So, and maybe now is a helpful time to go over, a little background on Red. So aside from, us, we've never had any people in our family like Red. We've never had any people with, developmental disabilities or cognitive disabilities or, complex medical needs. So when you have a child like Rhett who, he falls in a category of what we call deaf blindness. So he has hearing impairment and he has visual impairment. And we, aside from working with, I guess, Help Me Grow folks at kind of the local county level, are also hooked up with like the Ohio State School for the Blind. And then we also are now working with a person that helps us kind of with his hearing impairment. Mm-hmm. So,
and Akron Children's.
Yeah. Kelly
Sylvester.
Yes. Yep.
Yes.
So she helps us with the hearing aspect now. And I guess my point in all this is you never plan to have a child who's legally blind, and you never plan to have a child who has a severe hearing impairment. So Kelly from Akron Children's and then Jenny Remus from the Ohio State School for the Blind have been huge for us in learning how to interact with Red, because it's something that we didn't have any experience with. And when you look at people, hearing impairments and vision impairments are low incidence disabilities on their own, but when you put those things together in one person, it's even more of a low incidence type of disability. So Jenny with the vision services has really helped us. Okay, he can't see, but we can tap into tactile experiences, and we can, tap into smell and taste. And we have hearing aids now, so we've been able, to kind of tap into some auditory stimulation as well, and oral stimulation with things like the Z Vibe. And so I guess for me, as far as interacting with Rhett, had someone told me 3 years ago I was going to have a child who was blind, I would have been like, nope, that's not me, that's not possible, there's no way I could handle that. There's no way I could be a decent parent to a person with that kind of disability. And Jenny has just really helped me debunk that,
Yeah.
myth that I had about myself. And, just made me aware that, okay, we're missing a major sense here, but there are still so many other things that we can do to help Brett live his best life. And, for him to know, about his family and experience things with his family and things that way. And, we learned about his vision impairment pretty early on. And his hearing impairment, we didn't learn about that until about a year ago. And, we finally made it through the process of getting hearing aids and things like that. And those are showing really promising results.
Great.
And we've just recently started working with Kelly, and, she's also kind of given us a lot of valuable insight into how do you interact with a child with a hearing impairment. And then I would say the combination of her and Jenny together, okay, so he can't hear well, but he also can't see. So, what things do we do to help enrich his life and his experiences? And she has just been, so helpful in explaining that, because for me, I find that his hearing problems, I guess those were a little harder for me to understand than his vision problems. What all goes into hearing, and, what all has to happen for a person to get that information, to your central nervous system and to make sense of it. And so she's really helped my understanding of, this is what needs to happen, and this is what's not happening for Rhett, and here's what we can maybe do to overcome some of those challenges.
Yeah. So really providing that education piece of it, helping you know how to help him, or, I know that you've also worked with Chantel, right? And also the physical therapist as well. So you have a service coordinator, you have a physical therapist, you work with OSSB and Akron's. I guess, what would you tell another family about early intervention if they had questions or were unsure? What would you share with them?
Yeah, so I would say that, definitely go for it. If you, if you qualify based on your child's assessment or, a medical diagnosis that they have, definitely go ahead and go in the program. And I think we're probably in, a different situation than maybe some families, in the fact that Rhett is so complex and has such profound disabilities. But even if your kid only struggles with, a smaller array of things, just the ways that it can really help them live their best life. I would encourage anybody to, to get into the program and try to get all the resources available.
Rhett is very lucky that he has you. And I've seen the wonderful creations that you have with Jenny's Suggestions, built him out of PVC pipe. I mean, anything that is suggested to you, I've seen you just go with it. And, Rhett is living his best life because of the things that you do,
Well, thank you. And okay, so I just had this thought come to my head. So I will say, I guess one of, kind of in hindsight, one of the really helpful things about the Help Me Grow program for us has been the fact that you might find yourself going to a bunch of appointments with specialists and, all these different subspecialty clinics and all of these things. And I think one of the really unique things about Help Me Grow is, okay, we go to this ophthalmologist appointment and we learn that, we have, an optic nerve that's not really very large in size, and it's kind of gray, and it doesn't quite look like it should. So okay, that's nice to know. But then you go home and you talk about this with Jenny, or you talk about this with Chantel, and they really help take that medical information, that clinical information, and translate it into what does this mean for Rhett's everyday life. When we say we have a child here, medically we're classifying them as legally blind, and or we have this hearing impairment that's between severe and moderately severe, and it's an inner ear problem. Kelly, help us figure out what that means. How do we make a practical application with all of this medical information? And then I feel like I haven't talked about Chantel enough, because she's a huge part of our team as well. And Rhett's had within the last year, has had a couple pretty significant hospitalizations. We spent like close to 40 days, in the hospital over the past year. So I know that she really helped us. He comes home and we really took some step backwards, and, he's not maybe getting back up to speed as quickly as I think he should. And then Chantel shares with us that, for every day spent in an ICU setting, it's going to take this many days or weeks to kind of get back to where you were, and how that really helped us be realistic about our goals, for kind of getting Rhett back to where he was pre-hospital admission. And also just kind of bouncing ideas off of everybody about, okay, his doctors are suggesting this procedure. Have you ever had worked with children that have gone through that? And, is this a good thing or a bad thing? And just really provide a lot of insight that way. Just, since they do spend, their professional lives working with people and children with disabilities.
And I know you have great relationship with all of them. I see it, I hear it, and I'm just glad that we're able to be a good support to you and your family and to Rhett. Something I also remember about you is that, your goals were always not necessarily skill driven. It was always about, your family and, how can I make Rhett's life the best that it can be? And I just remember that about you, that it's you don't, not that you don't care about the skill base, but you that wasn't always your priority. Your priority was about making him comfortable and happy, and it wasn't so much for you about, he's using his pincer grasp, or, and I just really admire that about you, that it's really, really driven by you and what you want for your family.
Well, and thank you. Yeah, that's been, and that's another, maybe that's something else that I would say to a family that's kind of in our situation, that, we still don't have an underlying diagnosis for all of Rhett's, kind of health issues and things. And so therefore we don't really have a prognosis. We don't know in children like Rhett, will he walk? Will he talk to us? Will he be able to read or write? So, I would say to any family is, I feel like you have to come to terms with the fact that, maybe your child won't do those things. And as hard as that is, and as much as, I wouldn't wish that on anybody. But for us, it really has come down to a quality of life for him. And I do hope he, maybe he will walk someday, and that would just be amazing. But we can't focus on walking if we don't have, good head control. So, I would encourage people just to, to take it one tiny bit at a time, and, I know this is something we've also, talked to our Help Me Grow team a lot about is, kind of once we got to that point of, oh, wow, he's not making a ton of progress in, these gross motor skill areas or what have you, talking about things like wheelchairs and standers and bath seats and, those kind of assistive pieces of equipment have been huge for us. And just because you say yes to a wheelchair doesn't mean that you're giving up on your child or hoping that they won't walk or meet some of these milestones. But something I always say is I try to balance optimism and reality. So, I hope for these things, but I also try to be super realistic about where Red is with his abilities and, okay, if we're not going to walk, let's be happy sitting or, let's spend more time on our swing. And, we recently got him a stander and that's been a great thing. He really enjoys that. And just because we say yes to those things doesn't mean we're trying to put a ceiling on him or still not trying to achieve those things for him independently, but just having to be realistic about where he's at with his skill set and what we can do to optimize things for him.
Yeah. And, I have always said, when I was doing direct services in homes and working with families, that I had the best job there is because it really makes us appreciate things and we get to celebrate even the smallest things because it's things that maybe others might take for granted, and the best part is that we get to celebrate every little thing, that was what I thought was the best part of my job. So one day at a time, 1 minute at a time.
Yeah, that's some days feel that way. 1 minute at a time.
Yeah. Like I said before, I'm really, Rhett really is living his best life because he has you and your family behind him.
Well, thank you. We appreciate that.
Yeah.